this let me end this part of the space by introducing my sister, Miss Barriat. You have the space. Good evening.
Good evening, Saddam. Good evening, Mr. Peter Obi. Thank you for being with us. My name is Maureen Bariat Kabruk. I am a daughter of Southern Kaduna, and I am a proud Nigerian, and I am proud to have you here speak to us. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Nigeria. This is Nigeria on the platform right now, sir. We have everyone across the country up here trying to have a good time and listening to you speak. We're about to get the space started right now. Thank you, every one of you that are already using the space, sharing the space. We have 18K of us on the platform. We can do better. Let's get our numbers up, my people. Let's get our numbers up because as I'm speaking right now, I am going to yield the mic right now to Mr. Peter Obi himself. Good evening, sir.
The
Reintroduce
emperor, the
yourself.
conqueror, the champion, the lion is here. Sabu, sabu, anybody.
Thank you very much, Jimmy. That is what we know you for, Mr. Peter. You have the space. Good evening, sir. Welcome.
Well, good evening. I hope you can hear me very well.
Loud and clear, sir. Go on.
Good evening, Saddam, my brother David, M6, Ibrahim. I have a lot of brothers there. Ibrahim Otumba, all of you, Bolanle, Jimmy, Mary White, 1 million Nigeria brand. Let me say I'm sincerely grateful to be part of this again. As I said before, this will be every other month. When I was campaigning, I maintained that if I'm elected, I'll speak to Nigerians at least every month, where I will spend 2 to 3 hours to take questions, to be able to explain to Nigerians what we are doing, and make our time to listen to different segments by touring all over Nigeria to listen to them, because for me, governance is demand driven. The people must say what they want. You must listen to them. So I'm sincerely grateful to be part of this, and I assure you I will try to learn more from you than telling you more. It is about a learning process. The job of a leader is to learn and then use what is learned to serve the people faithfully. I will explain 1 or 2 things and I will listen to you. So thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. It's a pleasure having you on the platform. As you're learning from us, we are also learning from you, and we're tapping from your wisdom also and your humility. You're an amazing person. God bless you for all you do for the country and the sacrifices you've brought yourself out in a time like this. To get the whole space started, I want to set the ball rolling and get the conversation started. I would love to personally ask you a question before I pass the mic on to my brothers to start this question and answer session with you. Nigerians, please, if you have questions for Mr. Peter Obi, please, it is important you put your questions in writing in the comment section using the hashtag Peter Obi on Parallel Facts. This space is brought to you by Parallel Facts Media. Please, it is important you put your questions using the hashtag Peter Obi on Parallel Facts. So I want to ask you a question. Let's get this started. Thank you one more time for keeping to your words, because it is a word, it is an unknown thing for Nigerian politicians. But let's start this way. We have seen in this current, albeit temporal administration, the increase in hardship in the lives of Nigerians due to the immediate implemented policies of the current administration. Sir, they have come out to tell Nigerians that these are baby steps and much needed sacrifices that we, the people, have to pass through. But you see, we have not seen these men take any steps themselves. You know, the political class, they have not cut down their excessive spending and their luxurious lifestyle. We saw the Senate president, drive and he made a mini video, some short video clip for Nigerians showing himself driving executive cars, coming out from his stepping into his office. We saw the Senate also recently passed a $800 million World Bank loan and a 500 billion naira fuel subsidy palliative. They shared that money, 70 billion to 500 of them. They gave 35 billion to the judiciary, and they said 8,000 naira should go to 12 million Nigerian families. There was a backlash by Nigerians, and they had a backtrack on their decision. I don't know what they're doing with the money right now. But my question to you is this: they have told Nigerians to sacrifice, and Nigerians are sacrificing. You can see the hardship. You can see Nigerians trekking across the country. You can see evidently, we online, we see the hardship. We see what Nigerians are passing through. I want you to tell Nigerians what you would have done differently if you had the opportunity of having 500 billion naira and 800 million loan from the World Bank. Thank you, sir.
Well, thank you for your comments. I won't say it's all the question is a comment and what I would have done differently and everything. If you go back to my tweets of 19th of September 2022, I did mention the problems of the country and the way to approach it. In the country called Nigeria, we have a few problems which has to be religiously and simultaneously followed simultaneously. When I mean simultaneously, none will be left to the other and everything. The number one problem we have here is corruption. I keep repeating it. Corruption kills three things that makes a country. It kills entrepreneurship. Nobody is enterprising in a corrupt country. Thereby, there's no creativity, no introduction of any new thing, no. Corruption kills professionalism. It kills hard work. Because what it does is that it allows people to have wealth without enterprise. And when you have wealth without enterprise, you kill the entire system. So that's number one problem. Our number two problem is cost of governance. Totally unaccepted. Number three is what I said about subsidy is a criminal setup. And of course, number four, you have issue of foreign exchange, the value of naira, which again can be done with productivity. These are economic things, economic issues. In economic issues, you think every one and each of them through before you start any form of policy formulation and implementation. And if you follow these four things that I said simultaneously, you can start solving the problem. And it is not that Nigerians are not going to go through hardship. They're going to go through hardship and difficulties, but it won't be as it is today. What we have today is a question of what I said. We are still trapped in the process and thinking of yesterday. And if you are trapped in that process, you will not meet tomorrow. For example, number one issue is corruption. If the key people, all of us politicians, decide we'll end it, starting from the number one person. If you're not involved, those around you are not involved, you reduce it by 50%. And I'm not talking about chasing people who have stolen in the past. I'm talking that will be dealt with in separate note. But saying that forthwith from today, nobody will continue on that path. We will ensure that all the revenues of this country are accounted they're transparently held and would judiciously utilized. Number two is to deal with the issue of cost of governance. I was just talking with somebody yesterday who was able to convince me, because they had an argument. What I mean is, when I finish, you know what I convinced me. But they had an argument which some people supported at an airport while we were waiting for flight at Asaba Airport. Was able to tell me how it is not huge a cost for states to own plane, states, governors to fly private jets, people in government to do the same and everything. And when he finished, I asked him a simple question. What is the GDP of Nigeria? And he said it's about $400, $500 billion. I said, what is per capita of Nigeria? Per capita of Nigeria. It is important that we know this. He said the same thing. I said the per capita is about 2,000. I said, fine. So you have a GDP of 400 billion. That is your entire country. And a component of that country, some people are qualified to fly private jet and do this. I said, okay, we have borrowed this democracy from United States of America. So it's good to go back there and see how it works, just to learn a little bit. I said, are you aware that there's a state in America called California? He said, yes. I said, that state in America is about 3.6 trillion GDP. So if you're 400, there are 9 times your size. He was looking at me and said, there are 3 times your size. He said, well, we're not talking about America. I said, no, there are 9 times your size. And that state have a per capita that is about, call it 30 times minimum. I know per capita in America, of California, is about $60,000-$70,000. So I said they have about 30 times your per capita. And I can tell that if governor of California decides to go to Washington and he charter and he goes into goes with a private jet, he will not land in Washington before he or she is removed from office. He does not have a lodge in Washington. He stays in a hotel. And he cannot stay in a hotel where he will pay $2,000 a night. He will not wake up in the morning before they remove him. That man or woman will not be seen in streets of LA with 10 vehicle convoy. He will go the next day. So sometimes the things you see. So these are things we need to deal with. And then subsidy. Asset is a criminal setup And I thank Governor Issa Yaguna, who came out recently to say that somebody, a friend of his, came to him and said he's tired of making money from this. My dear people, you know what it means for somebody to say, I don't want to continue this style of making money. That this subsidy is a crime. And we must stop this crime. I think if I was in government, I would have invited Issa, my brother, and kneel down and beg him to introduce this fellow to me. Because I need him as a friend. Having repented, to help me in dealing with this. It is this criminal component of it. If you look at my tweet, first I was able to show that the quantity they say we consume is twice what we are supposed to consume. And I gave instance, compared it with a country, Pakistan. Similar population have more road network than we have. I don't know whether they have more car or not, but they use half or less of what we consume. So that's where you will start. That's why if you look at my tweet, I said I will reduce 50% of what we already pay for the subsidy. Having reduced that, you try to remove the criminal component of it. By the time you finish with all this, you will see in a clear, verifiable figures what is the actual subsidy we're paying, which at this time, having removed the corruption, having removed the criminality, will be far less than what we were paying. You now say, I'm going to take away component of this. In the meantime, I said I'm going to remove it. I'm going to take away component of this in the meantime. So this fuel is now, say 190. We're not going to have it at 350 or thereabout, or 400, as the case may be. And this again, further, this is what we are going to save. This is a new thing you're trying to do. You must be transparent, open. People must see it. They must feel it. We are going to save this. And whatever we save, we are going to apply it in critical areas of development. And these are as follows: education, health, pulling people out of poverty, resuscitating our infrastructure. And we're going to have it for this period. So we have moved from where we are to this new place. It's going to be difficult, but remember that we all said we are going to sacrifice. Because you have now tamed corruption, because you have now removed the wastages in governance and people are seeing it, and you're now coming into trying to manage this subsidy situation, there's more variable facts. So, like we said in the first 1 month, we've saved 400 billion. What did we do with it? Where did we take it to? Are we going to say, okay, 8 months, because they say we are owing them 1.1 billion or 1.1 billion? Okay, In 2 months from our savings, I'm going to clear that.
All right,
Are
sir.
we
I
going to
will.
say,
I will. I will. I would like to. I would like to make it in a way that you don't touch on education, because we have people that have questions for you on education.
no,
People have
no, no, I'm not touching education. I'm just giving you an example. I'm just going to say where you're going to play, because you must tell us what we said, what is going to go. Are we going to say the most important where we get this money we share is a place like Niger Delta? They have one critical road, East-West Road. The last time I checked, we need about 300 to 400 billion to complete it. This is our saving. We are throwing it into East-West Road, so these people can see it. These are things we need to do. These are the different things we need to do. Saddam have governed the state. It was difficult. But what I told the people is that this must be demand driven. Whatever you think Peter is not doing, or where he's saving the money or taking money, it must be applied to where you see it visibly. And the moment the people started seeing it, even politicians on the other side started working with me. So, thank you.
All right.
That's
Thank you
my
very.
initial introduction.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. Thank you very much, sir. All right. Let's move on real quick. I think David fell off. David, if you're on the space, please. I don't know if you can. I can't see you. I think I saw you and you disappeared. So I think I'll come to N6 right now. N6, you have the space, please. You can go on with your question.
All right, sir. Good evening, Your Excellency. You're one of the few Nigerian politicians who answers Your Excellency, and in all your doings, you have remained excellent. My question has to do with education. With all the problems Nigerians are going through, about a week ago, we saw an increase in school fees nationwide at all tiers. Increase in Unilag school fees, increase in school fees for unity schools, secondary schools. As a governor, one of your biggest milestones was in education. It's one of the proudest legacies you left behind as well. How would you have handled the Nigerian educational system, this rise in school fees prices, and just if you can answer this in 5 minutes, I won't mind. Thank you, sir.
Okay, very quickly, my brother. As a country, we have universal basic education. That means that the primary up to year 9 is free. The basic education. I've always argued that it should be primary and secondary school. For me, that's what it should be. Should be free. As you know, the most important yardstick, tool, critical, whatever I call it, measure of development today is education. The more educated you are, the more developed you are. The only difference between developing, and underdeveloped countries is education. That is the measure. Because people look at your human capital, which today you could see we're in the lower, we're one of the worst. People look at what you're doing in education, you're funding everything. So for me, when I mention issue of savings from subsidy, after you've done the right things to make sure that it's not where we are today, your investment should be in that critical area development, especially in the north, but it's all over Nigeria. You need to invest aggressively in education, in health, and in pulling people out of poverty. But starting with education. So for me, the basic education, which is primary and secondary school education, will be free and work with the states to fund it aggressively. We did it as governors, and what we did is to say, it doesn't matter to me whether it's private, private, public, owned by agencies and everything, we are going to support it aggressively. And that is what we need to take back. Encourage those in private, encourage them, just do whatever everybody is doing all over the world. How much do we spend per child? It is critical, it's important. On the tertiary, especially university, yes, I said we have to have different models, which we must do. The government must state, this is our contribution, which will be very clear annually to support university education and going to universities based on their population. Thereafter, there will be another component which must come because corporations today need just human products as part of their own production system. There will be those taxes you're collecting for education must go into supporting tertiary education. And then you now come with the component which you mentioned, issue of loan. It won't come in straight away. So initially, you have to bear this cost until you're able to have a properly articulated loan procedure, which will allow students in some areas, because it's not in every area when you start, in some area, to have access to this loan, because you're sure when they leave school, they will be able to get a job that allows them to pay for this. With all this combination, you're going to have a better educational system, a quality educational system, because you're not going to have a situation where teachers are going to be trained, the right equipment for teaching at the primary edition, then at university level, lecturers, everything, they can hire and do this and all that. Not a situation where I can tell you some of the people who are giving job in various universities in Nigeria in the past 2 years have not been paid anything. And they're lecturers. Imagine how they're lecturing. Imagine how they're living. These are things when we talk about saving money or saving costs of governance, where you're going to channel them to.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much for answering my question, sir. Thank you.
All right. As we await David to come back, I think we'll just move on right now to Ibrahim. Ibrahim, if you can hear me, please unmute your mic and speak. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much, Shadem. Thank you, Your Excellency, for being here with us. I'm from the north. I can say my question is directly going to go on agric because that's what I think will be one of the most commitments that you are going to give to the northern part of the country. And you have cited a lot of examples to us when you are doing your campaign about the issue. But in the economic aspect of it, I found it very difficult to comprehend and understand what really happened to the country. For example, we have different programs done by the previous government, and also this government has declared state of emergency on food production. And my worry is just that before they said we don't have fertilizer blending companies, they are just like 3 or 5, and they have like 50. But the cost of food in the market is still high. So I want to relate what is the input government putting into the system, and also food is getting more expensive. Let me give you another example. We have more what they call them uh, rice millers now, in almost getting in hundreds of them. Which one of the rice miller, as you said, you are part of the people that helped him to develop. And then this government, the previous government of APC, put a lot of money into it. So my worry is that rice is still very expensive. It's not affordable to the young. It costs almost about 43,000 naira per bag. Fertilizer is costing about 30,000 naira per bag. And the insecurity in the northern part of the country, if you can see Zafra and other places, people have to pay tax for them to do their to go to their farm. And another thing that is scaring us is that the mud in these villages bring out this produce to the city is by transport, and this subsidy issue is so affecting the rice issue. So with all this, the word that Saddam don't want us to put, the renew whatever that we used to call it, which everybody is feeling today. So my question is directly to you, sir. Help us to understand the economics. If it happens that you become the president in the next 2 or 3 months, what will you do different so that at least this rising cost of food would at least go down for Nigerians to benefit from being a Nigerian that have a very wide and very big fertile land for us to do agriculture? How do we get this food? Because food is the main security that we can have. Because even the education, everything, we need to get food.
Well, thank you, Ibrahim. Ibrahim, I've said a lot about the issue of agriculture and issue of implementation of various policies, projects, various schemes of the past. What you're experiencing is poor implementation of those schemes. They were not properly executed. They were not properly channeled where they should go. They've all become transactional schemes, transactional policies that went into the same tunnel of corruption. So in the end, they actually, instead of helping to ameliorate the situation, worsened it. The North, I've said, is going through a major problem today that is bordered on poverty, mass poverty. And if you want to solve that problem, you have to pull people out of poverty, and agriculture is #1 item to solve that problem, because there are vast uncultivated land that we need to cultivate. Nigeria can make more money from agriculture, can earn more from export billions of dollars from agriculture that the president earns from oil. And I'll give you several examples, which I don't need to go back into. Because you've seen me, Brian, you followed me everywhere where I say that Niger State alone is 2.5 times the size of Netherlands. And if Netherlands can do export of agricultural products in 1 year of over $120 billion, which is about 6 times what Nigeria earn from oil, Nigeria can do more. We can earn more from it. And we will be able to do today in Dubai, small space, the same holidays or call it anything, they are now doing quite a number of agricultural products. We have massive uncultivated land in Boronu, 70,000 square kilometers, which again is about not exactly, but about 2.5 times the size of Netherlands. So we have opportunities that are there. And to pull people out of poverty is to invest in this land. But you have to do it through the right channel. You have to do it properly. It has to be through verifiable and means people can see. Governance is a very simple thing. If we said, you talk about having more rice mills, having more this and everything. For example, if I will show you how anchor borrowers program have been implemented in other countries. I show you how growers have implemented in other countries. Who did we give money for the art growers? How did we channel the funding for it? The rice millers, are they the ones we are funding in order to fund properly those who are going to supply them inputs? So if it's a rice mill, are we supporting the big miller to be able to support those who are going to support in paddy to be able to give us the rice? Who are we dealing with? And what are we trying to achieve? I said in economic program, you must think it through. We can change all that and do it properly. When it's transparently implemented, it will work. It is not something we need to go far to find, whether it's the fertilizer or anything. All these are not coming to Ibrahim because it's based on transaction. Otherwise, it will be cheaper, it will be competitive, because labor is cheaper. First is that, how are we doing it? Ibrahim, we have a Bank of Agriculture, domiciled in Kaduna. And this is being implemented to the Bank of Agriculture. Who are the beneficiaries of this loan? Are they farmers? Are they politicians? These are questions. Who are those who are involved? I have seen this. I've seen people, even in my own state, when we came in, there was a standing agricultural loan. When we tried to recover it, none of the loans went to farmers. The funds ended up in hands of politicians. It must be proper. It must go direct to those who need it, and it must be followed up to ensure that we're getting value for that. If we do it, the prices will come down. We'll use it to pull people out of poverty. We will do more. Brian, you know we've been to, and I'm sure you can still do it today, go to prisons and see those who are involved with kidnap and killings. They will tell you how much they are paid for an operation. It is 30, 40, 50,000. which means if they have something they're doing that can give them that amount every month, that's it. The more you put people out of poverty, the more you reduce the criminality. This should be properly implemented. This must be preached. Thank you, Brian.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. I think it's only justice I pass the mic right now to a lady, Miss Barriat, and our first female question of the day. Miss Barriat, if you can hear me, you have the space. Good evening.
Hi, Saddam. Can you hear me?
Loud,
Perfectly.
Hello, can you hear me?
loud and clear. Go on, please.
Perfectly. Continue.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, Ms. Barriers, we can hear you.
So, good evening, Your
Okay, Saddam,
Excellency,
she might need
once
to log
again.
out and
As
come back
I
again.
always refer to you as my president. So, as I am here, I am speaking to my president, and I believe every other person listening to knows that we are listening to our president speak to us, the man we know we voted for on the 25th of February. Here is my question, sir, just to follow up on what Ibrahim Abdul Karim has already asked you. I am a trader, just as you always introduce yourself. I am in the agricultural sector. I trade in fruits and veggies. And one of the biggest complaints that a lot of the farmers with right now, always talk about has to do with logistics and multiple taxes that they face from the farms to the market. So my question to you, Your Excellency, my president, our president, how would you handle the issues relating to the logistics involved in transporting food from farms to around the infrastructures and the multiple taxation that these drivers and farmers face from to the market? Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, my sister, for that question. I know Ibrahim mentioned it. First, let me start by answering it. Since that at times I just get, how did we arrive here? If the colonial masters was able to build a rail in the 60s to make sure that they transport the food from the north, Kanu, everywhere in the north, to the south and to export. What has changed today? These are 60s. I went to southern Kaduna and I saw rail in Kafanchan. Somebody said to me from Kafanchan, they used to load agricultural products that go to Lagos. If that happened in the 60s, why can't we do it today? On the issue of multiple taxation, all those, again, is bordered on corruption and transaction, which when you are determined to eliminate it, will be able. Where are the corporations which government can support and be able to, by the time you have proper support that are channeled in the right direction? Bank of Agriculture is in the north supporting all this. Where there's stringent rules that nobody can play with, you get it solved. And then because you're interfacing with these farmers like you, because like I said, it's a learning process too. Because the government is determined to do it, They will listen to the farmers. Yes, there's issues of insecurity. Ibrahim mentioned the farmers can't go to farm. Yes, that is number one job of government, to secure the people. So if you're determined to do all this, we spend enough money in security. I do not see how non-governmental actors will be more active, more daring than government. It is because what we spend in dealing with insecurity are also somehow enmeshed in this transactional life. You just criminalize the place. So this is time to do things now differently, involving all levels of government, from the community level to local government level to state level to national level, with clear mandates, clear implementation plan, that at any time there's a problem, all those involved will be dealt with. If you do that, you see it differently. When we lend money to farmers, it will shock you. Genuine farmers in Anambra State, we were able, apart from flooding, which occurred a particular year, to recover about 70%. Flooding came and worsened it. When we lent the proper farmers, we were able to see increased production, and we visited them. So it's not just me sitting down in Oka saying, we're giving money to farmers who came to Oka. No. We went to their local government, went to their villages, we went to see everything. So when they had flooding, we were able to intervene to even save those who had loans from other areas, because we could see what they're doing. And again, to build the proper infrastructure that gives them access to the markets. And all these are doable if we're determined to do the right thing.
All right, thank you very much, sir. Thank you. Ibrahim, you say you want to have a follow-up question on agriculture real quick?
Not a follow-up question. It's just for me to testify to what Apple Hetty is saying. For example, in Kaduna and also in Sokoto, I've seen this roads. They call them the agriculture. It's a fund for in the agriculture department in the Ministry of Agric to develop rural roads. But in my area, for example, in Sokoto, I think Locust Guiwa, I have seen a project given to one of the directors stayed around that place, and they build the road. As I talked to you today, anyone that is in Kaduna, if you know the house of the immediate former agric minister, if you go there, you will see the road being done with that kind of fund. So I think what Mr. Pio is saying is really true. Most of these funds end up in the pocket of politicians because they are not doing the right thing. So money and system and document has been designed to help Nigerians to make sure that this food has become a little bit cheaper, but because this money end up in the pocket of people. This is just the intervention I just want to give. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Ibrahim. Thank you. I think Otumba, you're meant to come in now with your questions. I don't know if you're ready.
Yes, I am. Yes, I am. Thank you, Your Excellency, sir. My question is still on the economy. Given the economic downturn, we're seeing multinational companies report massive losses. From Cadbury, I think they had 20 billion in losses. MTN, 131 billion in losses. The NGX 232 billion, Nigerian Breweries 71 billion, Guinness Nigeria 18 billion, Airtel is, I think they reported about $151 million in losses. And a lot of this is attributed to the floating of the naira. We've seen the dollar, you see the naira weaken against the dollar, we've seen naira weaken against the British pounds. If you were in charge of the economy, which we hopefully you will be soon, what economic policies would you help implement around the floating of the naira, or and also to reduce, these losses? Because as just an ordinary person, seeing these losses to me translates to budget cuts for those companies, which translates to either layoffs, massive layoffs, or reduction in employment opportunities for Nigerians that work in those companies. So, how would what will you do around the floating of the naira? Thank you.
But let me tell you, if you look at my tweets about the issue of Naira exchange, I mentioned it in that tweet. I mentioned about 19 of September last year. First is that what you have that is affecting your Naira value is the value of your reserve. And what drives your reserve is export earning. And what drives the export earning is production. Because your sources of revenue, as far as foreign exchange is concerned, is oil, which most of it is stolen. You have no agriculture, you're not exporting enough. Your factories are not producing enough for export. You have difficulty in dealing with the issue of earning dollars that would have increased your reserve and helped to stabilize and reduce your rate of exchange. What we have recently is every country in the world, I can tell you, manages the rates of its exchange. Yes, they will tell you you can float it, but you can't float without knowing or managing your supply. You can't float what you don't have. I believe that the rate of exchange Naira was overvalued. For me, the first step would have been to do the things I would say here that I would have done to be able to get some funding that would have allowed you first devalue the currency, because overvalued where you have a situation where you have 450 official rate and almost 750 as parallel market rate, which was allowing all sorts of things. If we had moved from 450 to about 600 or thereabout, and be able to still manage it by getting enough money to meet up existing obligations. Corporations and people will lose money, but not meeting those existing obligations will increase confidence for people to come back into the market. And then, remember, one of the things that foreign exchange rate is unproductive money that's all over the place, which I call the corruption side of it. Because some of these exchange rate that is going up and everything, the dollars are not being purchased by those who are using it for productive purposes. It is being purchased and used for corruption purposes, which everybody is involved. So you can stop it. Today, you know, for various political activities, and people in government are now transacting in dollars. It is an open secret. So we are in difficulty. Some of these we have to start doing it differently. I'm not going to say, that's why I said I will not be dwelled in the process of yesterday. I'll be dwelled in the process of today. When I was in government as a state, we decided to have what we call subnational savings. And that was why in Anambra State, we were able to have, by the time I left, $150 million in savings. We said we're going to divide our savings into three. One should be in foreign currency. Since we trade in dollar, let's save in dollars. One should be in naira, the other will be in investments, shares and stocks and bonds, and local bonds. And that's what we did. So I have $150 million in savings. You read in Ngozi's book, I refer to it every day, where he said I supported savings because I know what the reserve would have been. If you ask Mr. Ganga, who was there, who actually was the architect of the Sovereign Wealth Fund, he would tell you that if there's a governor who gave him all the support, I was there. So, for me, the things we would have done differently, because we didn't do it in the past, we're suffering now, but we can start today to do it. If we had done the right things and be manage the rate more effectively, and then support all exportable items in order to earn revenue, stop the oil stealing, which the government have said they're stopping and everything. I said that I was a little bit disappointed that we caught a ship that had 8,000 with about 8,000. All we needed to do, 800,000, not 8,000, 800,000. And they said and that ship was supposed to be operating 800,000, and that ship was supposed to be operating for 12 years. For 12 years. Nobody cared to say if that ship had been operating for 12 years, for 12 years, for 12 years, what has he been doing for 12 years? Where has he been for 12 years? It's very important. But rather, what we did is to say, destroy it. We don't need to destroy it. I would have seized it, ensure that they explain what they've been doing for 12 years. Nobody have told us what they've been doing for 12 years. They just said it's been around there and doing civil operations for 12 years. These are issues. So if we get it right, I believe we can earn more dollars. I believe we'll stabilize the currency. and everything, and that makes more meaning.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. All right. I think we'll take
Can I? Okay.
Eskis, okay. Before you go on, I just wanted to take um a quick quote from what our principal just said right now. He said basically you can float the naira. Basically, you can't float the naira when you have not made sufficient moves to take the country from consumption to production. I think that is, for me, a quote I'm going to put it out right there on Twitter for Nigerians to understand. We are speaking economics here. All right, NCs, I think you can come right now with the quick interlude questions. Please go on.
Good evening, Your Excellency. My name is N6. I have more than a decade's experience in radio and media. And I want to ask you a question about a huge, intangible, but it's going to be a big problem that happened after this election. I don't know if you might understand this question, but please give me time. This election has destroyed whatever fabric of national unity we have. The politicians weaponized tribalism, they weaponized ethno-religious sentiments, and they really split Nigerians apart. The Yoruba and the Igbo, the North versus the South, and they've done this, they did it at national level, they did it at state level. When we sit and talk about Nigeria, we always focus on education, health, this, that, this, places that have verifiable data to tackle. But how do you datafy the unity of this country? So please, sir, I want to ask you, do you have a plan when you get into power? Because you surely will. There's no technicality that is going to stop that. When you get into power, sir, is there a plan to sew Nigerians back together again? Or do you think that in your grand scheme of tackling poverty and also alleviating the Nigerian, hopefully the Nigerian GDP and all these things, that the tribalism issue will die off with our prosperity? I always thought it would, but it's sad to see these things happen again. You saw our opponents going as far as Yoruba, Ronu, and things like that. Sir, my question is on national unity. We are highly fragmented at this point. What do you have in mind to get Nigeria back together as a country, loving each other, for us to be able to achieve all these things you have? Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. Let me be honest with you. I've been asked this question several times. And what I'll tell them is exactly what I'm going to tell you now. It's actually at times good that all these things are coming out. When in 2015, I campaigned across Nigeria, then with Jonathan, I saw this happen, where Northerners were like, we don't want to hear anything, we don't want to see you, we're not. So, and there were so many attractive proposals, campaign promises by Buhari then, and it was voted into office. 8 years after, I did not see, maybe there is, I'm just saying, any reduction in the poverty in the North. I did not see where the North was buying bread cheaper than the South. I did not see where food, like Ibrahim said now, was cheaper in the north than the south. There was no improvement. They were not more secured. There was nothing they will say they celebrated for that, taking that ethnic stand. Today, we're seeing a similar situation in the Southwest, where people think it is our turn, we don't care, it's not this and everything, because the politicians use this as a tool for competition, especially when they're incompetent. So they hire tools of division, tools of ethnicity. And I've asked people, can they show me where they buy bread cheaper in Ibadan? Is cost of rice or food cheaper in Ibadan? Is cost of petroleum cheaper in Ibadan? Is there anywhere people in Ibadan are buying fuel today 300 naira and people in the east are paying 600? Is there anywhere they're buying bread 500 while people in the north are paying 1,000? Same thing is what happens with religion. Because people will say to you, oh, he's playing a religious card, he's doing this. Show me where the Muslims buy bread cheaper. I can tell you, Christians will go there and worship with them and buy the bread and come out and continue what they're doing. Show me where Christians are buying bread cheaper. Muslims will come there and buy the bread and go back. I went to a secondary school, Christ the King College in Onitsha. And I wasn't just a student anybody would say, you don't know in Christ the King College. I even became the deputy discipline prefect. So everybody that went to that school will tell you knows Mr. P2B. We had students that were Muslims. We had students with other different Christian denominations. On Fridays, our Muslim students will go in Onitsha. They will go to mosque in Onitsha then. That's why I knew the mosque and where it was in Onitsha. They will go to mosque on Fridays. On Sundays, we will go to church. Those who are Catholics will go to Catholic. Those who are Anglicans will go to a neighboring school, DMDS, for their own, everybody. We didn't know what was religion. I went to University of Nigeria, Nsukka. Again, nobody who passed through Nsukka will tell you while I was there, he does not know Peter Obi. Then you're not in the part of that school. Well, I mean, not that everybody knows me. There might be people who don't know me, who don't even remember me, but if there's popular students in the school, I'm one of them. So we had a lot of Muslims. We had people from different Christian denominations. A lot of Muslims, Nobody thought about where you're coming from. We had people. My senior brother went to school in University of Maiduguri. We used to go to Enugu for him to enter train to go back to Maiduguri. This were not in 60s. This were late 70s, early 80s. So it's not even 60s. So all these things were just tools that recently were brought into this into show divide, and sewing it together, my brother, is as easy as ABC. Once you bring back what I normally say, character, capacity, competency back, and people can see that they are participating in this, they are part of it because they are qualified, they are this, all this is will disappear. I live in Onitsha, I live in Lagos. I'm involved in some of these companies you're talking. Nobody knows where anybody is coming from. What we're looking for, when we're looking for directors, is people who are competent. Yes, there might be an argument of, okay, in order to balance it, we need one person from Southwest, from Southeast, from this, from that, which are already enshrined in our constitution. Our constitution already said federal character. We have to bring people from different areas, but we have to bring people who are competent. It's been shown in our football system. Just yesterday, all those who played for us in the 80s was remembered by APIS. All those of them, Odebami, Christian Chukwu, everybody, he brought all of them to Lagos, hosted them, gave each of them about 1.5 million naira each, told each of them they're going to be flying his plane for free. He wants them to be looked after and everything. He didn't say, I want people who play for Rangers. He wanted people who did this at national. When they met me in hotel, you'll be shocked. Blow, all these people that we used to hear their name. That's what it used to be. You can bring it back with effortless ease. Today, there's a lot of intermarriage between the North, the East, the Southwest, the Southeast. It's going to the stage in Lagos, nobody even know the difference. Most of the marriages that I attended, I was in a funeral just on Thursday of somebody I can call a mother, fantastic woman, but it's a Yoruba woman. We live in the same block of flats where this woman is. I don't know how to describe her. She was just an extraordinary mother who every day will make sure that he comes in and say, Peter, you're not doing this. Peter, you did this or this. Everybody in the compound is fond of her. So these are things you can deal with easily. I've said when I was campaigning, Ibrahim can say that the North will celebrate me because I know the problem of the North. The West will do the same thing because I know the problem of the. Because today, nobody can tell me the problem of the North because I know the problem of the North. As a banker, we used to get all the cash we need from Kanu. Today, Kanu is dead. The industries in Empire 1 is dead. Shadan 1 is dead. Shadan 2 is dead. We used to have cash from Medugri. It's all dead. I know the problems in the East. I know the problems in the West. And that's what we need to deal with. I took time to explain to you the things that brings us together. Sports. Today, there's no more sports in terms of what it used to be. At the time, nations are celebrating their huge leagues. All you hear Nigerians talking about is about Manchester, Man U, Chelsea, this. Where's our local league? Yes, people used to do that before to play even what do you call it again? To all this lottery, what do you call it again? Pool. They do pool with it, but they were still following Rangers, all the other clubs like ICC, Mighty Jets, all those things were being followed everywhere. So those are things we must go back to. People who were playing in different places were not even from there. Their troubles were playing for Mighty Jets in North, but their troubles were from Anambra State. People were playing for Rangers, and they are from the North. You know, you had a Masemeka who were from Port Harcourt. I don't care playing for. So these are where we must go back to. In terms of our entertainment, you can see it everywhere. The Nigerian youth don't know difference between Davido and other stars in film, in everything. These are what we should encourage. And then throughout this, politicians bringing things that divide us, or telling you, oh, Peter B is tribalistic, oh, Peter B. How? Where? I've governed the state. I've run corporations. I've supported this thing. I can tell you there's a company that is 100% owned by people from the Southwest that I chaired. I didn't even have one share in it. Just one. And I was the chairman. And the company was doing well. So we can go back to it. We can sew it together very easily. There's competent people all over Nigeria. Just like all of you are scattered here, there's competent people all over Nigeria that we can work with and be able to show that it is a united country.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
God bless you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I think how you went in on that. Thank you. All right, I'm bringing David. David has been falling off. I think David, your enemies don't want you to speak today, but I am sure as David conquered Goliath, you have conquered them. So please, David, I want you to come in right now and show them that you are also a conqueror. Please, you have this space. Good evening, my brother.
Good evening, Saddam. So I'm just going to keep my question very brief, and I'm first of all I'm going to give some background as to why I'm asking this question. Now, it's been well known that the fuel subsidy regime was unsustainable. It had to go. Preferably should have gone as far back as 2012. Wasted an extra 10 years, etc., etc. Regardless of what happened on February 25. The fact is, the fuel subsidy was never going to remain in place because the outgoing administration had already not made any budgetary provision for it. Now, that has been used as an argument to state that, well, even if the results that were announced had gone differently, and even if Peter Obi had been announced as president and he had, he was sworn into office on May 29th, that the economic carnage that we are witnessing would have been the same. That it wouldn't have made any difference who was president. Now, I beg to disagree. I believe that the way it was handled, the way the announcement was made in itself, and the way the initial first 2 or 3 weeks of the subsidy removal were handled, what directly led to this huge slowdown in economic activity that we are witnessing, and this extreme spiking of fuel prices. Now, the question is, if Peter Obi was the one who was midwifing that transition from subsidy to no subsidy regime, what would Peter Obi have done different in such a way that the extremely negative effects that it has had on businesses, on people's ability to even travel to work, all sorts of things like that. What difference would Peter Obi's handling of the situation have made?
David, first I'll tell you, election took place on 25th of February. Result was announced when? About the 1st of March. Between the 1st of March and May 29th is a clear, call it about almost 90 days. Within these 90 days, I'm sorry to say it, I would have been able to have a respectable economic team that would have sat down with me. Even as I talk now, if you say Peter Obi is president tomorrow, I'll give it to you in 1 month. Respected Nigerians that can sit down and we say, this is where we're going to go. If we're going to remove subsidy, I said it again, look at my tweets. We're going to pull it. It's like when you have multiple fractures. You're not going to deal with all of it immediately. It's something you need to remove it one after the other. I said we'll remove the corruption side of it. So we know the actual subsidy we're paying. There's so many components in this subsidy that when you listen to, because I've listened to some experts make their comments, you remove that. Having removed that, you now decide on the component of subsidy, whether it's budgeted or not. If it's, for example, when you remove it, maybe what will remain will be 40% of what you're paying or 50%. You cannot set from this day to deep where we're going to remove this component. We've seen a former governor come in and said that somebody, David said, he's tired of making money this way, that he has made enough. I don't think I've ever seen anybody who said he's made enough money. Not even Warren Buffett also, who is involved in investing. So for somebody to say that, it shows you what is happening there. So I would have done all that. And I've said we would have also seen what is happening with the issue of the refineries, not the one of government. Modern refineries that people have set up here and there, which they are complaining that their problem is supply of crude and other things. So that there's a combination of simultaneous things you need to do, quite a number of things that would have helped to manage this better and everything. There's a combination of things you would have discussed with people in all the stakeholders that would have made it better. It will still be painful. It's just like what I said before, that there's a difference between giving you some form of anesthesia before pulling out your tooth and just doing it without anything. They must be thinking through. It's an economic decision. It's not going to be easy. If it had returned school to the original owners in Anambra State, there were issues with it. People were on strike. The schools were on strike for months. But before we returned it, we made sure that we went through all the beginning to the end to mitigate the problems. For example, saying that all teachers that are employed must be paid by government. They must be maintained by government. That the churches and this thing can no longer run the school. They don't have the resources. There's so many things we put in place that we will continue to do the capital projects. We will continue to do this. But they will take care of the administration and management, but will support them. I can tell you, I don't know what has changed. At the time I was governor, no state in the north, no state in the east, no state in the west can compare their secondary schools or primary schools with ours. We were the only people where you have secondary schools that have computers, buses, this, everything. Go to those schools today. The infrastructures were rebuilt. We don't own them. Private schools in Anambra State were supplied computers. Private schools in this, so we thought it through. As a governor, I decided that every person, old person in Anambra State, or does not have any form of pension, the government will pay the person 5,000. You can go and verify what I'm telling you now. Across the whole state, 5,000 every month. I had security in each community employed and paid directly by government in each community. I bought each community vehicle, but this is we are taught through, so I knew it was going to be sustainable. People ask me then, where are you going to get money to do this? I say, look at our calculation, look at what we are getting, look at why we're going to do it. What I'm saying is that there are things you do, but you have to be taught through. Stakeholders have to be invited. Other people have to have their inputs. It's not just something, it's not something of courage. Because people say, oh, if you have the courage, there's nothing, you have the courage. If you're determined to do it, you're determined to do it. I say it any day, David, I'll put people out of poverty in the north. I'll change. People need to see the numbers. You cannot tell people to sacrifice. You cannot tell people to go through pain when they are seeing you live a life of a rock star, where you're buying brand new jeeps from all over the world at a very expensive price, and you're saying this is this. No, you cannot say you want, like we've said, we want food security, and this is this. Yes, we want food security. But what are we doing? People must hear it, people must see it. And like I keep saying, it is time we hear from those in charge. I don't know whether this has made a little bit of sense to your question, David.
You
Absolutely, it has.
you made amazing sense, sir. Thank you very much, sir. All right, I think in the spirit of education, I think I'll circle the mic right now to Madam Bolanle. Madam Bolanle, you have the space. Good evening.
Good evening, Saddam. How are you? Your Excellency, thank you. Your answers to our questions have been quite illuminating. Thank you. Right. So before I ask my question, I just want to sort of give some context. Right. Back in 2010, when I had my youngest daughter here in the UK, the consultant, the surgeon, the SHO, and the midwife on duty who welcomed her into the world were all Nigerians. So I had Nigeria's finest at her birth, and I often laughed about it. However, we know that there's a brain drain, so that we've got an average 200 doctors leaving the UK, leaving for the UK month, and that has meant that the ratio of doctors to patients is now 2 to 10,000, which is really, really bad. Right. So a few days ago, resident doctors in Nigeria embarked on a indefinite strike. Right, which has meant that, you know, the public hospitals and the conditions are not great anyway. And these are the people who have decided to stay, right? And it calls to question, you know, how Nigerians are able to access affordable healthcare. So my question, sir, is this: considering the difficulties in that sector, is it time to call a state of emergency on healthcare delivery in Nigeria? And if yes, what would a solution look like? Thank you, sir.
Well, let me start by telling you that the state of emergency, my sister, has been long overdue. It's been long overdue. Today, Nigeria has surpassed India in infant mortality. India is 7 times the population of Nigeria. India is now the country with the largest population in the world, about 1.4 billion, and we're about 200. So there are 7 times our population, but we have worse infant mortality than them, especially in the northern Nigeria. And this is because of lack of primary health care. Lack of primary health care, lack of education, lack of access to health, which is anchored, like I said, on primary health care. And you can't talk about primary health care unless you talk about the human infrastructure, the healthcare workers that are involved, because they are the nurses, the midwives, the everything. When I was campaigning, I went to an IDP camp where they had close to about, according to them, I didn't know, they were about 50 to 100,000. I'm not privileged to know how many they are. But when I came, the crowd I saw should be about 3,000-4,000. They have no form of facility, medical facility, except a nurse, one nurse, who actually was there on a volunteer basis. She said she's tired of hearing or seeing people die or women trying to get men, and so she decided, let me die with these people. It was very painful to see and everything, because we're not investing in healthcare. When we talk about this saving, we're talking, go and look at primary healthcare budgets of Nigeria, a country of 200 million people. And then you look at the budget of, say, I don't want to start, maybe National Assembly. Look at the budget of primary health care. Look at the budget of maybe, compared with budget of even Aswa Clinic. All those things, or parrots, that our doctors are leaving, our nurses are leaving, should worry us, but I'm not as worried as people are. I lived in the UK myself, where at a time, all the doctors, all the distance were from India. I used to tell people that I know India would take over in terms of ICT, in terms of technology, in terms of businesses. The economy of India, go and study it, will be a stronger economy with an Indian and all those around. In most of the schools, especially in my class, where India acquire knowledge, doctors in the UK, they are going back to India. They are the ones who are helping India expatriate Indians who are now in charge of various agencies, Institute for Transforming India, where things that they brought, even if they had a former prime minister, we are now using, it is people like you and all those diaspora that if we get it right, like I said, brain drain will be brain gain. You come back. Because we're going to use your knowledge. You're actually going to be the first investors we are going to get when we talk about foreign investors. Foreign investors are not going to come until you people come. When they see you going home and making money, they follow you. That's how foreign investors go to country. They don't just stay and say, let me go there and die. They have to see that, hey, when they see there's law and order, and David can come in and go out while criticizing government, nobody will harass him, nobody will talk about him, but he can come in and say, Mr. Peter Obi, you're a failure. Why not? As governor, I had people who harassed me all over the place. I've said this several times. Mrs. Ndibe, Okendibe's mother. Okendibe is a journalist that is well known to you, Professor Okendibe. The mother, I didn't know it was the mother, walked me out of a church as a governor. Said I should stop praying here because she's being owed gratuity and pension. That God will never hear my prayers. I should leave the church. And everybody was trying to control her. I said, no. I followed her to her house. And I said, Mama, I'm going to pay this money, not just to you, but to everybody. That's how I cleared 35 billion naira worth of gratuity and pension. From that woman, the way he was talking to me, if I do it today to anybody in Nigeria, they'll lock me up. But that's what governance is all about. You choosing to do a job, you have to listen to the people. Not when they said you did this, you say, who are they? They should go and get people in their village, even when they are telling you the truth. So we must have a country that works. And if we have it, I can tell you the doctors, we can train more doctors, more nurses, more this. Some will leave, some will stay. Eventually, as we get involved in building our health infrastructure properly, where we create a proper insurance scheme that will take care of us. If India, with large population, can have a scheme that provides health facility for Indians, 1.4 million. Indonesia has the best. There are 216 something million. They have one of the best healthcare insurance in the world today that works for everybody, where the rich contributes and the poor contributes. And if all these countries can do it, we learn what they're doing and do it. It is not rocket science.
Thank you very much, sir. David, would you like to ask one more question?
Me?
Yeah, just ask it before we move on to Jimmy.
Okay. Right. I was gonna ask a question. This was a question about the Labour Party. Okay. Well, I don't know whether it was Atumba who wanted to ask this question, because I remember he mentioning it. But well, since we're already here, let's go ahead with it now. I remember having a conversation. I think it was with Saddam a few days back, and we were talking about the future of the no, it definitely wasn't Saddam. We were talking about the future of the Labour Party, right? And obviously, what PO's vision for the Labour Party and for the obedient movement is. So I guess the question I would ask is, in now that we're obviously coming to the end of the 2023 election cycle, obviously we've recorded major successes both with the obedient movement and the Labour Party. They're both joined at the hip, obviously. So how does PO see things moving forward in terms of motivating more young Nigerians potentially to become card carrying, registered members of the Labour Party? I believe N6 has been very vocal about the need for young Nigerians to not just take an interest in this election cycle because Peter Obi is involved, but also to become, if possible, card carrying members of the Labour Party, to take part in the internal processes of the party, if possible, and also to take note of the other candidates that the party fronts in the gubernatorial, senatorial, and House of Representatives elections, even at state level, state House of Reps, local council chairman, that sort of thing, so as to essentially create or boost a political structure that is independent of what had come before it. So what is Peter Obi's vision for how young Nigerians can plug into this, both in the short and in the medium term?
Well, my take in it is that, you see, the young Nigerians have been the greatest loser in this enterprise called Nigeria. They've been the greatest loser. Some of us live the life where I used to tell people, David, I bought my first car, Volkswagen. In fact, I would say it's the first car that I used, because the first car I used was the Honda Civic, which I bought and used and put it into a taxi system. I lived in Onitsha. The first time I bought the car was as a first year student in Nsukka. I went to J. Allen in Enugu and bought the Volkswagen Volks car for 2,700 naira. Drove it to university. I used it. Everybody in Nsukka know my car, AN700 SA. In my second year, end of my second year, David, I bought a Pigeon 505 from Umano Motors in Nsukka for 7,500 or 7,600 naira. By my final year, and leaving university, I had a BMW for 15,000. So, what am I trying to say? Look at that type of life that I lived. And so many other students. We had students then, Chris Okotie, who was in Enugu, doing his thing, GDOP, we have other students who were doing similar things. Kanu, all of us, we had cars, lived well, campus was what it is and everything. You're leaving school, some people are going to work in corporations, some people are going overseas for their masters, people were doing this, we traveled when there's the holidays, students student fare to go to London was 80 naira, then moved to 100 naira. You will say university, inside the university there's a bank who sell foreign exchange to you at $1, 60 kobo, or call it 1 naira to $1, and suddenly it's now 850 to 1, and you're not worried, then you're not a human being. So it's become a mess. And nobody's to be blamed. I'm not blaming anybody. But I'm saying we can get it reversed. The young people who have been the greatest loser, who have suffered the greatest pain in this, what are like NSAS and everything and all that, and still got a pushback. This is their time to get involved. If you look at what you were able to achieve in the past 8 months, I urge you to get involved. It's all I did and all I'm doing, and is that I said, I will be with you in this exercise. And I liked when it but I can say what I tell people, I'm not the that I left office. I had $150 million of my state money, and nobody urged me to save in dollars. Nobody. I did it on my own, and I had about 35 billion naira in cash, and I had a similar amount in investments. So said today that they passed a law telling me they will build a house for me in Lagos, in Abuja and Oka, and I don't have one. I don't have a piece of land, in the whole of Anambra State given to me by Anambra State government, in Oka in particular. I don't have a house in Abuja. My wife has a flat in Lagos. We live in it. And recently, because of the issue, we're trying to repair, we rented a place. So for me, I'm not saying I'm a saint, but public money is for public good. I must be used for that. And it's important that people understand that. And for those who even do the wrong things, they should be human and think about what damage they're doing. So for me, the young ones, please get involved. No matter how this scenario we see ends, if you check what we were able to achieve in this short time, the future belongs to you. Kill or snatch it or kill or do anything. No. You're going to do it in an organized manner. and lead this madness out of the door, because it is a case of where lunatics, all of us today, are the lunatics in charge. You must guide us to the door and bid us goodbye, so you can start building a nation you can be proud of. That's how countries change. People bring about change. And that's what we are trying to reverse that by bringing tribalism into it, religion into it, and everything. When we've seen that all those things have not paid anybody, when I'm bringing it into it and everything, you now see them labeling P2B this every morning, that every morning. Like I said, I'm not a saint. I've passed through schools. I just told the schools where I passed through. You can go there, Google my name in anything, whether it's in Christ the King College, in Nsukka, in Oxford. But I passed through there. And the little knowledge I got from there, I used it for the benefit of the society in which I live in. I was a businessman. I would pass through the banks. I was the director in 3 different banks. There are records people can go and check and say, this is this. So this is what we want to do for the new Nigeria. Let's see. Look at what David is doing. Look at the sacrifice people are doing. Look at what Saddam. Look at what all of you are doing in your different areas. Ibrahim, all of you could easily jump into this sharing method and benefit from it, but you say, no, let me sacrifice. Let me be different. Let me say, this is this. Even before I met all of you, I've been following what you're doing. I've been reading. I was telling David the day we spoke, I said, I thought you live in this thing. I thought you're much, much older. I was telling Saddam, I didn't even know who you are. And everything. I've never met any of you one-on-one. I've met Ibrahim, but look at us talking and share. So get on with it. Go and become party members, Labour Party member. We are not there yet. So you can come in and change it. You can come in and say no to this and everything. You become part of it. In the next few years, you take it over and be able to teach us how to do it better. That's my own lesson. Don't stay outside. It is not time to complain. I was at that time complaining, and I said I won't complain again. Let me get involved. And I'm not involved, and that's where I am. And I'll do it for next few years. If you don't know, somebody like me, I won't say it, but if I had succeeded, who have shown credibility and experience, allow them to be part of whatever you're doing for the transition to move on very well.
Young Nigerians, get involved in politics. It is time we start retiring these old men that have benefited from the system that works. I don't understand how you will see and you meet a naira at 1 naira and you're taking it to 800 naira and you're still flexing on our lives. So, young Nigerians, I think the clarion call has been given out to us on this platform today. Please get involved. Get involved. Oh yeah, let's move on.
Yeah, because I heard you say if you've already succeeded, sir. This is Mary White. My question is, so recently there was an unfortunate incident that occurred at the Federal High Court in Lagos, where a former CBN governor was arraigned for illegal possession of firearms. And more concerning was the high-handed display by the DSS at the court premises. So the question is, how would a Peter Obi administration, which I know we will get back our mandate, handle such reckless display of lawlessness and total disregard for the rule of law by government agencies? So that's my question. Chukugazegi, Your Excellency, sir. Dalo.
My sister, let me tell you. Let me ask you a question. Where do you live?
I live in the United States.
Okay. Do you know that today, and I'm sure you know, the biggest contributor to the biggest item that contributes to United States GDP is an intangible asset called the rule of law. It is not oil. It is not a distance. You have a way to verify it. The Western world economy, the greatest contributor, or one of the greatest contributors, let me use one of the, is intangible assets called rule of law. The reason why people want to live in United States, want to live in London, want to live in anything, is not about, anything other than there's law and order. So if I go there and do a business and it fails, I can report. There will be A, B, C, D, F. If somebody comes and attack me, if somebody does this and all that and everything. I lived in the UK for years. I told you this. I lived in the UK for years. And my house was in my name. My house is in my name. You know, I'm a Nigerian man. So I didn't put Mr. and Mrs. So it's in Mr. Peter Obi. I live there with my wife. Her name is not in the. So, and I decided I'm going to sell this house. I want to move from my next house. I own on one street, 2 houses. I live in one. One was rented out. So when I decided, okay, I'm going to sell this one and go to the other one. And I went to the estate agent and said, I want to sell this house for this amount and everything. Went to the lawyer. The lawyer said to me, you live in this house with your wife? I said, yes. He said, for how long have you lived in this house? I said, I bought this house in 1995. Today in Nigeria, about 70, 50, 60 or 70 million naira. Let me use the lower side, 50 million. It won't be less than that. I haven't bought one recently, so I don't know. But I'm just giving you an example. University professor is paid 450,000 naira. Those who collect the money, 450,000 naira. Those who are not being owed. So in 1 year, he will earn, without touching his money, between 5 to 6 million. So if the university professor decides not to eat, decides not to feed his family, he needs 10 years of his salary to buy such a car. Without eating, without anything. So you will know what he earns compared to the top police officer, the top business. So the entire system is going through that process. It's worse because these are security agents whom we expect to secure us, secure the country, secure this thing. Just like we need the professor to impart knowledge to be able to do this. And that's what I'm saying, that if we're asking people to sacrifice, they must see what we're doing. The country's pay package is low overall. And that is because the country is not productive. So the only people who are earning appropriate money, and even over more than appropriate, are we the politicians. Because of transactional politics we play. Recently, there was the issue of fighting for who is speaker, who is senate president, who is this, and you hear all sorts of things. I was forced to go and ask a friend of mine who have a contact in the United States to ask, how do they select their own people? And I can tell you, by the time I got the answer, I was so pained. How did we get here? What is all this transactional struggle all about? So for me, there's need to look at the overall remuneration of people. If we're going to sacrifice, let all of us sacrifice. And let's move this country from where it is today, where it's engulfed in process of consumption to production. That is even what will give government more money that they're looking for. You've heard that government saying, oh, we're going to increase revenue increase is what we need, blah, 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 and everything. How are you going to increase the revenue? Increase in revenue is a function of production. Today, companies are collapsing. Small businesses are dying due to increase in energy costs, increase in all sorts of things and all that. How are you going to get the revenue? Are you going to tax people who are jobless and looking for money to eat? Are you going to do so? It is all a function, something that is worrisome. And I keep telling people, it will get worse. People will say to me, oh, this thing we did, I say, no. It will get worse. So really, I agree with you, they are poorly paid, but it's same thing all over the place. We can start improving their own because they're providing security and making sure this thing. And again, they are seeing politicians sacrifice. Because if you're going to tell a policeman to follow you, and it's not being well paid and everything, and if you're going to tell him to secure the place, and his children are not in good school, I used to tell people that those who live with my parents, when I was in primary school, we attended the same primary school as me. So there was no difference between somebody who serves my father and his children and me, whose father is the boss. Today, it won't be the same.
Thank you very much, sir. All right, let's keep it going. And well-meaning Nigeria, you can come in now with your questions. Please, guys, one more time. We are going to be taking reactions and back from the speakers and a couple of questions after our panelists have asked all their questions from the comment sections. We cannot ask all, but we ask as many as possible. Mr. Peter is here with us. So let me come to you, well-meaning Nigeria. You have the space.
All right. Yeah. Thank you very much, Saddam. Thank you very much, Your Excellency. I think this has been a phenomenal space. You've made some very key revelation. And I just want to assure you, on behalf of my name is I'm well-meaning Nigerian. I'm one among many. The obedience generally we are with you in this process. You would know you won't imagine how many obedients are now lawyers but never studied law. Following this process through and through, back to back. So my question is really relating to, character, competence, and capacity. But I think the real point is character. For some of us, for people that really care about the image of Nigeria as a country, we would agree that Nigeria is undergoing a very serious character assassination. I mean, we've always had that, but I don't think we've had it this bad we're having it at this point, we're having it at a very higher level. I mean, talking about people that we've seen visited the Aso Villa, a place that is supposed to be a reverent place, over the past 2 months. We've seen so many people, but I think that's kind of consummates at the recently released ministerial list. I mean, it's not something to talk about too much because for some of us, we know that this is a temporary or an interim administration, so we don't try to reverence it. But I think the point of this question is, on that list, you can technically tell that most of the names, I mean, you can classify most of the names into one way or the other, but most of them falls within people that are under a reward system. But the most disturbing for someone like me, and I think a couple of people, is, we have a female nominee on that list that in 2018 had to be sacked by the Senate. In 2023, now this year, she's being investigated by the Code of Conduct Bureau. Still 2023, she's also undergoing some legal issues regarding forged certificates and all those other things. We have a male nominee who was sacked in 2017 by the Supreme Court as a senatorial candidate for winning wrongly. Then in 2019, was sacked again by the Supreme Court. In fact, this time the Supreme Court gave him 10 years ban from running for any political office. And to see that such people appear on a ministerial list for Nigeria, for me, it's character assassination at federal level. It's just killing the character of Nigeria. So my question really is, you've answered one part of my question when you said in 1 month you would have your list of team out. So I want to also believe that in 1 month, probably or less, you probably have all your ministers out. But I just want to ask you, what sort of character, what sort of criteria should we be looking at from the people you would be making ministers or other appointees when you eventually come to power, which we are hoping should be very soon? Thank you very much.
Without taking too much of your time, what I will tell you is that nobody, I've repeated it several times, with any questionable form of certificate and the other will work with me. I don't need to waste my time on that. I'm saying it categorically. If you have a question to answer with your certificate, you're out. It didn't just happen to me. Let me tell you, when I appointed commissioners in Anambra State, I'm not talking about what we started today. When I appointed commissioners in Anambra State, I told every one and each of them, make sure whatever paper you're carrying is the right paper. So I had university lecturers, had this and everything, and it was very straightforward. So we did the verification before you even go public. It was already done within a house. So I didn't wait until it went public. We did it in house. If you had any record that existing, I didn't appoint saints. I appointed human beings. Even if you had a situation that is bad, we knew. So it wasn't, and we knew that we were going to defend it before we say yes. we're going to work with this person. But it was verifiable. And where you're going to be was verifiable. When I tell people that I did not, while I was campaigning, meet up to 70% of my commissioners, they are wondering, how did you appoint them? I never met my chief of staff before. Never met her. I didn't know who she was while I was campaigning. I only read her CV. I said this woman should come in and be commissioner for information. She came in and became commissioner for information. After about a year or so, when the person was acting that, she was appointed commissioner for environment. Was just reading his CV and what he has done with regards to PhD in environmental action, science, blah, 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 everything. And showed a few things he has done on the private side, and that's it. So for me, it's not a question of, oh, this is this. Like I said when I talked about the economy, knowing that we have an economic problem, I have people. When I was a director or chairman of a bank, it will shock you. I work with people couldn't, people don't want you to even appoint anywhere. And people say to me, how can you bring this man who will never agree with you? I said, that's exactly what I want to. And I told my commissioners, you can go and ask any of them. If all of you agree with me in 3 meetings, everybody will go. I know that I'm not working with anybody. You actually appointed to disagree with me, because then I will learn. So don't come here and answer me, sir. No commissioner saw me to the airport if I'm traveling. None welcome me. You're running a ministry. Just like I said, when I see people coming to welcome people at the airport, I laugh. I say, what time do they have to do their job? So we want to do things differently. All of us watch the American president enter Air Force One, Air Force Two. Have you ever seen any minister, anybody see him off? No. If he wants to travel, he travels. So what we want to do is to do things differently. And I assure you, I'm not saying I'm not going to appoint people from the moon. I'm going to work with Nigerians, but they would have been different Nigerians. Even in my campaign, I was telling somebody like Aisha Su, I only knew her from those with the activities. And I called her when we were campaigning and said, ABCDF. And she agreed. And she wasn't the only person I called. Someone like Ibrahim. Someone like, I can go on and tell you a few other people who joined us. I never met them before. But we invited them, we expected that they joined us. And we worked with them. So that was what we're doing. So that is what is critical. You know, that's what it was critical. And it's important that happens. When you appoint people based on what they can offer, their character, everything. So I assure you, it will remain the same.
All right, thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much. It's important we know the makeup of your cabinet coming in. All right, I think right now, N6, you can come in. You can come in right now. But guys, please, we are bringing up your questions now. Thank you to our moderating speakers. Everyone have asked wonderful questions. It's been an amazing space so far. We have over 33,000 people on Twitter right now listening to us, and thousands more on Facebook on YouTube. We have multiple channels streaming it live on YouTube. And thank you to all of you that are streaming, that provided your platforms to stream. Thank you to Ingenja TV. I just want to say this real quick. Let me use this moment and do a little bit PR and sell. Please permit me to sell my market, sell our wonderful market. Please, if you are a student and you love journalism and writings, do you love reporting and you are on campus, we're creating a parallel fact media campus community. You can please send us, shoot us an email at info@parallelfacts.com. Please, info@parallelfacts.com. We need young Nigerian writers. We're about to take back our country and want to do it with young, talented Nigerians. So please, we see all the politicians on the platform. I hope you guys are really taking your pen to jot things down and take it home to begin to implement real life-changing policies for Nigerians. Thank you. And if your hands are up, so I'll allow you come in right now. Then please, guys, our moderating speakers, thank you so much. I'll have to drop some of you. I'll drop you guys down and bring more people up now so we can have the last few conversations with our excellency. Thank you very much. And if you have the space, good evening.
Good evening, Your Excellency. There's a question I want to ask you, and I'll need you to please listen to me so you could understand what I mean. You're a frequent traveler, and you travel with a Nigerian passport. It seems over time, the Nigerian passport has lost its relevance, its respect, both in Africa, in the West African sub-region, and overseas. Our passport is barely improving with its accessibility to several nations. And then our passports, you land in a country and our passport already subscribes you to certain checks. Someone as popular as David Hundeyin would go to Zimbabwe, and the Nigerian passport does not even make Zimbabwe afraid of putting him in a room alone for several hours. There is a huge disrespect and battering of the Nigerian image, and where we feel it a lot is on the Nigerian passport, especially traveling. Do you have any plans for Nigeria's image? How to launder Nigeria's image? Any plans on how to get our passport to be stronger? And just any plans on making Nigeria look better overseas? We seem to be ascribed more to negative news than to positive news. There has to be a way soft power can be used to get us looking better diplomatically overseas. Please, sir, do you have any answer for this situation?
Mr. Peter, are you there?
Hello, sir. Are you here?
It's muted. I think he has to unmute first.
Okay, you have to unmute your mic, sir.
You have to unmute, yes.
Okay. Very straight answer. If you want to earn respect anywhere in the world, whether as an individual or anything, you put your house in order first. Nobody respects you when you're going around as a beggar. Nobody respects you when your economy is in shambles. Do you know how they form G7, G20, G anything? It is based on economy. I have an Indian friend who told me that India will be, when I was campaigning, who told me that India will be hosting G20 very soon. I think it was the end of this year. I said, if you win, I will invite you as an observer. I said, I won't come. We should be members. He said, Peter, I'm shocked you say that. I said, yes. We are supposed to be members. The only way when green passport was respected was when we have something to offer. when we're a nation, when we have economy, when we're able to employ our people, when our people have means of livelihood. So for you to have a strong foreign policy, you must have a strong domestic policy. I, Peter, if I'm opportune to serve Nigeria, will tell you, as a governor, I had a diplomatic passport, but I can tell you, I did not travel on diplomatic passport. I traveled on Nigerian passport. I lived in England, had children there. They went to from primary school to secondary school to the end. I had an indefinite stay in England. I decided to live there, return their indefinite stay. I go to every country of the world with green passport. I don't have dual citizenship. I don't have dual residency. I have everything it takes to be a citizen in the UK, to have permanent residency. Even the one they said you have to have if you have a particular amount of money. But I don't have. I don't want to have. God created me in Nigeria. And I tell my children, any day you see there's war in Nigeria, I'll go back there and die. I've traveled everywhere I went in the world where there's problems. I was in Rwanda when there was problem in Rwanda. I've gone to so many parts of the world. Even when Haiti had earthquake, as a governor, I went to Jonathan and pleaded to go there as a Nigerian to help them as a sitting governor. So all I'm saying is that this passport will be great. It requires us to do the right thing. To you to earn respect, you have to put your house in order. You have to do things that are proper. If today David was disrespected because he came from a system that does not even respect David, because the way he's treated, or the way Nigerians will be treated, if Nigeria was good, you can summon even the ambassador and said, no, we can't have this. Even when he was just a young man. I have had the same disrespect myself. I can tell you. I have had the same disrespect myself. I've traveled where I come into a country, somebody will tell you, and you're trying to tell him, say, listen, let me tell you, I cannot trust you because you're Nigerian. I said, that's the only reason. He said, yes. Recently, I went to the UK. An immigration officer asked me about my return ticket. I said, I've forgotten to carry ticket because once I give them my passport, on the day I will travel, they will look there and see it. He said, well, you must show me your return ticket. I said, I don't have it. Okay, let me look at my email whether I can find it. I said, but what, why? This is the first time. He said, if you don't see it, let me tell you where you're traveling from is the problem. So I've had all sorts of things. I've gone to African countries. I've been treated the same way as David. You know, because David is probably an important person and a known person, and also somebody who will always fight for his rights. Somebody like me will stay quiet there and be praying and let these people solve my problem peacefully. Because even if I say I'm held there, some people will say, oh, he's being held for something else. So I've had it, where people will not trust you, where people will not do anything unless this happens. Oh, don't worry, we'll get it right. It is for you to sacrifice. It's for me to sacrifice. And we'll build a better country. They cannot respect us where we are today. They cannot respect us because of the characters that are in charge of our country. All of us politicians today have failed the country. We failed to build a better society for our children. And that's what we're suffering from.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. All right, I've brought up some other speakers. Thank you to our magnificent moderators that just dropped. Thank you so much. Amazing questions. I'll be dropping the rest of you, please, so that we can have other people come up and speak. No vex to me. I just want to say this real quick, please. I'll be taking like a couple of questions from the comment section right now. I see your comments. We have over 5,300 comments. And we have over 35,000 of you. Please, for my earlier advertisement I just did, if you love journalism and you're a student, please, it's up on the Jumbotron. Just check the Jumbotron. You can see every information you need to know, how you can apply, how you can send in informations, and join this amazing Pioneer Facts team filled with hardworking Nigerians trying to change the journalism stratosphere of the country. Thank you. All right, let me take like three questions from the comment section. So back-to-back questions, really sharp. Then I'll come back to the speakers that are up here. I think oh, please, guys, also please, we cannot ask judiciary inclined questions here. It is for a reason. He is in court, and we cannot be seen to be asking questions that has to do with anything about the judiciary. So please, it's important, and that is why we have not asked any questions that has to do with that. So please, it's important you guys understand why we are not asking that questions, please. So if you have such questions, I'm sorry, we will not be able to ask you. Sir, a question from Mature Jungle. He says, sir, tell Baba Ahmed Dati that we are missing his presence. Kudos for the great work you're doing. When can we have him on space? Mr. Peter, can you answer that, sir?
Hello?
1 minute, sir. Did you hear the question I asked you, sir?
Yeah, go on.
All right. The question from Mature Jungle, he said, please, sir, tell Baba Dati Ahmed that we are missing his presence. Kudos for the great work both of you are doing. Please, when can we have him on space?
No problem. I'll deliver that message.
All right. Fingers crossed. Thank you very much, sir.
Once,
Okay.
once I have the next meeting with him, I'll deliver that message. But I can tell you, if you have me, you have two of us.
Amazing, amazing, amazing. Okay, let me ask this question. I say, from Chini, Chini says, Your Excellency, do you have plans to reintroduce technical training schools in our educational system like we had in the old days? Our youth lack the right skills to thrive in today's workforce. For example, Dangote's refinery hiring workers from India due to lack of skills in Nigeria is saddening.
Let me tell you, that is certain. It is certain. Do you know the biggest pool of training, the biggest, and in terms of training technical people and ICT and engineers and everything in India, is Bombay Institute of Technology, which was established the same time as Yaba Technology School by British colonial masters. Today, that one has produced most of the billionaires you see in India. It become an Ivy League school that you can do anything to get admitted in or be part of it. Nobody talks about Yaba College of Tech again. Everything has failed. We need to bring them back. And that is why I said, that's why we're not earning any respect. We must bring back our country. And it requires a lot of sacrifice.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. All right, blessed Emmanuel, say question, sir. Sir, what period of time would it take you to put all the seaports functioning? Probably, I think, to make all the seaport functioning. One, how fast will
Well,
you tackle insecurity in all the geopolitical zones in Nigeria?
well, like I said, insecurity is number one. Security is number one job of a government. And it is critical. You can't talk about attracting investment if you're not secured. You can't talk about attracting investment if the rule of law is not respected. So there's so many, these are intangible assets that attract people. I said before, what will attract you to America is security. You might have shootings in America, you might have shootings in London, you might have shootings everywhere, but overall it's far more secured. People still come out in streets of New York for jogging. You go to the park, it's filled up in the morning with everybody jogging. People still come out in streets everywhere, in London, in parks and everything, are moving around, even when there's still shootings and this and everything. So you need security to attract investment. People must have peace of mind. It needs security. There must be rule of law. There must be some semblance of stability in your economy. So your rate of exchange can be high, but it remains stable maybe for 4 or 5 years and everything. People can plan. These are things you need to put in place. And doing that requires some time. But if you start, Nigerians are good at followership if you're doing the right things. Governance is about hope. You must give people hope. If you say we are going to do this and people see you are doing it, you won't achieve 100% results overnight. But people want to see 100% effort. You see me say this in virtually every 2 months appearance, that we must put 100% effort. Our sacrifice and everything must be seen. And that's it.
All right, thank you very much. Sir, you did not answer the questions of seaport, how fast you can get all the seaports working.
Let me tell you about seaport. What I say about seaport is what I do about the airport. These are critical economic issues that needs to be up and running. Nigerians today go to Kenya to go to Dubai. They go to Ethiopia to go to Dubai. They go to Rwanda. They go to South Africa to go to Dubai. If there's any place that's supposed to be transshipment ports, in terms of seaports, in terms of airports, it is Nigeria. Nigeria is so strategically located in Africa, where we are middle in the terms of north, south, and everything. And we have strategic ports that you can use to do roll-off that can do. I won't tell you more, but I've said it before. When I was campaigning and I said that I'll make Aba and Port Harcourt one time, some people said, no, making one time is that we now need to focus on export. And when I talked about Aba, I said to them, Bangladesh is doing $36 billion worth of clothing export. That is, Vietnam is doing over $20-something billion worth of shoes, footwear. And we have over 60,000 tailors and shoemakers in Aba. Just like I talk about food. So many fertile land like Niger State can give us all the food we need to export. If we know what we're doing, organize ourselves, in 5 years, you could see our reserve double, if not triple.
Thank you
And
very
all
much.
the thing that you're talking will change itself. If we have reserve of $100 billion today, Naira cannot be more than 400 to the, and you'll be strong. 400, 500. And if you do what you're supposed to do, so you bring it down to 100. And you have a prosperous nation where you can start creating all the jobs. Indonesia is doing it. They're not based in Brazil, have done it. Countries have been where we are. When people talk about agitation now and talk about everything, I said to them, go and read about Brazil, Mexico, and all this thing. People were a few years ago running away from Mexico, Brazil, everywhere. There are all of agitations in Colombia, in everything. Today, those countries are changing. We can do the same thing. I've studied what they've done. I've visited them. I know what they've done. We can do the same thing.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much. All right, I think I'll still go back to questions from the comment section, but I brought up new speakers, so I'll just go straight to them. Real quick, please. Your questions in 1 minute each. Miss Pels, you have the space. Good evening. Welcome.
Good evening, Your Excellency. Good evening, everyone on this platform here today. Thank you very much, Parallel Facts, for organizing this space. Your Excellency, I'm so very glad you're here today. You gave us your word 2 months back, and you're here. That's very noble of you. So I was in two of your obedient diaspora town hall meetings in the United States, and from the very first time I heard you speak, I knew that I wasn't making a mistake in supporting you. And thank you very much for being so consistent. So what I have to say here today is not a question; it's more of a comment. Um, I'd like to really commend your comportment and maturity in uniting a fragile country like Nigeria, even across ethnic, political, and religious divides, even pre and post elections. You are the real unifier. Thank you very much, sir. So again, we all know that we won the elections, but we were rigged out. But you have continuously asked us to remain calm and maintain peace and order. And you said we'll go to court and we'll regain our mandate, and we have maintained peace and order. So this is in contrast to the outbreak of needless violence in Nigeria right after Buhari lost in 2011. We all know that there was so much violence, mostly due to his combative and militant campaign rhetorics, which eventually dovetailed into terrorism, which we're still battling today. So I want to say thank you very much, Your Excellency, for being such a good man, for your maturity, for placing your love for Nigeria above personal interest. And we are with you all through these proceedings. We love you. We will keep praying for you. And we very much know that by God's grace, we will reclaim our mandate. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. I'm in that prayers with you, but I assure you also, whatever happens, we will remain peaceful. It is for the interest of the country. We have no other country except Nigeria. And for us to build it, we're not going to build it through war, through anarchy, through destruction, through rioting. God is mercy. At his own time, will listen to the suffering of Nigerians. I believe in it. It cannot. Nigeria must come out of this and be a great nation. I say I have that confidence that it will be a nation. People will rush back. Mexicans are leaving America today to go back to Mexico. Brazilians are going back. Nigerians will come back. You will see them come back in their numbers. We will make it work for them. We'll make it attractive for them. And you are going to be part of that sacrifice. Whichever way it goes, it might not God harm in it. All I can tell anybody is that you will never find me want. I will never be part of what knowingly what is wrong. It will never happen. It must be the right thing.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. I think I have, before I run to the next question, I have a question from our YouTube. He said, if in a very short, let's say if you can do this in 2 minutes, sir, how would you deal with the issue of federal character?
Well, it's already enshrined in our constitution. You must ensure that every part is represented, but must be represented by somebody who is competent, qualified, have the character that can be used as an exemplary person.
Thank you. We lost you, sir. We lost you, sir. But okay, I think.
Can I go back
No,
to
no, no.
that?
He answered the question fully, Sadam.
All right. Please let's go on real quick. Oladipo, your hands are up. So please, in a minute, your question, please. Thank you.
Your Excellency, good evening, sir.
Good
Thank
evening.
you for making sure that our faith as Yoruba people in you is not mismanaged, is not thwarted. And I'm really appreciative of everything you have done. And I want you to know we will build a new Nigeria together, sir. Sir,
Thank you.
my question borders on this, sir. Sir, as I speak to you, I am an inventor. I invent things and I do a whole lot of things. But we don't have the enabling environment for science and technology. The environment is so hostile to us that we are the one that will source for the money, we are the one that will do the research, and we are the one that will start to construct what we are doing. And it's not really making us. I know a lot of my friends that have left Nigeria. The
You
things
know
I
what?
do. Yes, sir.
Thank you. You know why? I've said it even when I speak in open listen. That if Bill Gates and Steve Jobs and all these were Nigerians, they won't get anywhere. Nobody will support them. Nobody will support you as an inventor in a corrupt country because you have people with wealth without any enterprise, any invention, anything, until such things becomes respected, seems to be something of value. People can see what you're creating and value it, and you become the person to be celebrated. Then it becomes something people will jump to. Banks will give you money, institutions will give you, they will give you all the support. Today, our banks don't even lend money to people like you or entrepreneurs. They do pump brokerage. So you go to a bank, the bank will tell you, if you give me a house, I give you this. You have to bring your mother's house, your mother's land, blah, blah. But the same bank will turn and give local government money because they are sharing. So the system have crowded out the real sector people that are supposed to lend money because they're lending to local government chairman because he gets 33 allocation every month. So they give him money to go and do whatever he wants. This has to change. That's why I said we have Bank of Industry that will lend to industrialists, lend to innovators like you. Have Bank of Agriculture that will lend to real farmers. The two biggest banks should be, or three should be Bank of Agriculture, Bank of Industry, Bank of Infrastructure. These are what it is in other countries, but it's not. And this is where we must go to. We must build a new Nigeria that works for everybody. Look at you, Yoruba man. Look at today, what we are getting either in Lagos, in Ogun State. There's so many things. You go to Ibadan, yes, the governor is trying whatever he can do, but things can be done better if federal government comes in with a mind, look at the population, look at everything. You can turn all our population into gain the way Indonesia, all other countries like our size have been able to do. But it used to be exemplary place where people come to for academics, for medical, for everything. It's a shadow of itself.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. All right, 99% oppressed. Please, if you're up here and you want to, please, let's try and make sure it's questions we're asking because it will. If you have pleasantries for Mr. Peter, you can put it up on the comment section. It helps also that we don't lose this opportunity. The next time we'll have him here is 2 months from now, so it's important we ask him questions that have nothing to do with the judiciary. Please, very very important. Thank you. 99% oppressed. You have the space now. Please, in a minute, please. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Dan. Good evening, Your Excellency.
Good
Yeah,
evening.
I'm happy to be on the space with you today. Yeah, my question will border on security. Yeah, you've talked extensively about oil theft in the past, and you said openly to Nigerians that oil cannot be stolen by ordinary individuals. And recently, we've seen where the government claimed that two vessels has been apprehended. Oil theft vessels have been apprehended. My question is, if you are the president, would you have ascribed to this idea of destroying evidence while investigation is still ongoing? Because um, we, we saw them destroy two vessels without telling us the real owners of those vessels. They
I
only
answered it
brought out
earlier.
the
Okay, I answered that question earlier. I said
oh,
not just that without telling us the owner. They say one has been operating for 12 years. 12 years. So he has been stealing oil for 12 years. And nobody told us, and that one was carrying 800,000 barrels. So assuming he carries only, and